everybody, Ren Carruthers here with your Future Stars Friday forecast on this 2-year-old Tuesday. And we had a lot of win and you're in action for the 2-year-olds pointing to Future Stars Friday. I'm going to actually go backward because my very special guest today has a connection to the winner of Friday's event. So starting off with the Bourbon won by Mutasabek. And for those of you who don't know, in Arabic, basically that name means racer, a competitor in a race. And he proved aptly named, winning the Bourbon that puts him into the juvenile turf. He's by Into Mischief out of Downside Scenario by Scat Daddy. Jockey Louis Sias, who also rode another big winner over the weekend. Trainer Todd Pletcher. I got to give a shout out because this horse was actually a $425,000 Keeneland November weanling, consigned by my friends at Tailor Made Sales. We had Mark Taylor on last week, so that's very cool that they have another horse pointed to the Breeders' Cup that they're connected with. This horse is now owned by Shadwell Estate. So that's Mutasabek. We also had winning the Indian Summer at Keeneland, Bodenheimer. And this is a win in you're in for the Juvenile Turf Sprint. This horse is Attaboy Roy out of Beautiful Danielle by AP Indy, Hall of Famer, and of course, Breeders' Cup Classic champion, AP Indy. Another cool connection to the Breeders' Cup is the fact that this colt's grandmother is a half-sister to Breeders' Cup Juvenile Phillies champion and Eclipse champion 2-year-old filly, Countess Diana. So really neat there. Ridden by Brian Joseph Hernandez, trained by Valerie Lund, and owned by Kristen Boyce and Marilyn Holden. So congratulations to the connections there. Overseas at Longchamp, we saw Tiger Tanaka win the Qatar Prix Marcel Boussac. That is a win and you're in for the Juvenile Phillies turf. And she is by Clodeville, who is a Group 1 winner in France, who he was bred by the Lagardère family. He himself is a son of Danehill, who's by Danzig. Dam is by Group 1 Phoenix winner Zoffany, who's a son of Dan Silly, who's by Danehill, by Danzig. And this is kind of fun because, you know, we love Smoke Glacken here in America. Second dam by Smoke Glacken. So that's Tiger Tanaka. Connections there. Jessica Marcialis was riding. Trainer Charlie Rossi, owned by Miguel Castro Magalhães, and bred by Kelsgrain Stud. Also there at Longchamp, winning the Qatar Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère, is Silaway. And the sire here is Galloway. I think what's pretty interesting here is that stud. His first crop are 3-year-olds this year. He's a half brother to graded stakes winning turfer and a top sire in Canada in Silent Name. So that's kind of neat there. Dam won the Prix Herod. Her name's Ken C by Ken Dargent. The connections here, Michael Barcelona was riding. Trainer Frederic Rossi, owner Jerez del Gusari, and bred by Guy Parenti Holding, who still owns part of this horse, I believe. That is a win and you're in for the juvenile turf. And now this is the connection to my very special guest on Friday, October 2nd, in the Darley Alcibiades, a grade 1 win and you're in, pointed to Future Stars Friday for the Juvenile Phillies. Simply ravishing. And I have her trainer right here, ready to roll, Kenny McPeek. Hi.
Hey, good afternoon.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about, but before we get to a horse that I think is on the forefront of many minds, let's talk about the Juvenile Phillies. You actually ran 1-2 in this race because Simply Ravishing, not only did she score impressively by over 6 lengths, what was the actual margin? 6 1/4 lengths over her stablemate, Crazy Beautiful. So this is a filly. I saw you actually put out a tweet a couple days ago saying that she's very special. So obviously you knew she was sitting on a big one.
Yeah, you know, she's done everything right from the beginning. We took her to Saratoga and we ran her an open company in the first race. I think there were those that questioned what we were up to, but she's trained like a good thing from the beginning. We prepped her at our facility in Florida, Summerfield Training Center. She'd done everything like a total pro down there. We brought her north and she moved right into open company and she's never looked back. Extremely talented, a beautiful filly to look at, a lot of leg to her, big bodied. Just real fortunate to have another good horse in the stable.
Well, she's by Lauban, who I believe he stands at Steeple, New York. He's a big horse himself. I believe he's like 17 hands.
Yeah, he's the Uncle Mo line, which adds a lot of speed to the equation. She's out of a more than ready mare, which is once again another speed addition. But to look at her, you would never say she was a sprinter. But when they open the gates, she'll go about as fast as you want.
Well, I got to say, as you just mentioned with Uncle Mo, he himself won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile in 2010 and Eclipse Champion honors. And he's just looking like he's becoming a sire of sires, not only with Laoban representing, but Nyquist is off to a tremendous start at stud as well. This filly I thought was really interesting. You did mention that her dam is by More Than Ready. More Than Ready has a phenomenal record with his progeny in the Breeders' Cup. He, as a sire, has progeny representing him as More Than Regal winning the Juvenile Phillies Turf in 2010, Pluck winning the Juvenile Turf, Regally Ready in the Turf Sprint in 2011, Roy H. back-to-back sprint wins in the 2017 and 2018, Rushing Fall, who's still running strong, winning the Juvenile Phillies Turf in 2017, and Uni, who just won another win in your in, winning the mile last year. And he's also the dam sire of. Do we hear feedback? Let me see here. I don't know if it's on my end or yours, Kenny. Do you hear that feedback?
I don't hear any, no.
Let me take out my speaker.
No, I can't hear you at all.
Speaker, and somebody mentioned it in my comments here, and I didn't know if it was on my side or not. So hopefully you all can hear me fine. So basically, as I was saying, he's also the dam sire of a Breeders' Cup winner in Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Champ of last year, Instructor. So very strong pedigree credentials there. But not only that, but this mare, Four Wishes, she herself hails directly to Miss Disco, who is the dam of Bold Ruler, who is a Hall of Famer, and a sire of consequence, most notably putting out their Secretariat, who I consider to be the greatest of all time. So the thing I thought was interesting, especially considering all of this, was Meg Levy of Blue Water Sales. She tweeted this after the win. I'm going to share my screen here to show her tweet. And it says, what a surreal day. Wishes can come true. Thanks to all who wished well, from $500 rescue mare to grade 1 producer of Alcibiades winner. So
Pretty crazy.
That's amazing. What can you tell us about the dam here and how she ended? Do you know how she ended up as a $500 rescue?
I just heard the story on the side. I didn't hear anything otherwise. Meg's a very astute horse person.
Yeah.
She knows her business. I bought Take Charge Lady off of her decades ago. She's extremely smart. Her and Mike have a great operation, and for her to find that filly for that value in a where she came from is just a real tribute to her and what she sees. It's a great thing, and for this filly to be that good, I've been telling her and Mike Levy since the spring, this is a really, really good filly. I don't know that they believe me, but they were there Friday. Of course, I was in Baltimore, but they're over the moon.
I can imagine. And what was it like not only winning the race, but having the stablemate come in there second? She was actually slightly favored over Simply Ravishing.
Yeah, we point to this race every year. I take the challenge of trying to teach my horses to go 2 turns early on, and they both took their lessons well. We had worked them together. Admittedly, we probably knew that Simply Ravishing was the best of the two, but you don't assume anything in this game. So I wanted to take 2 shots at it, and just proud of both of their races. It's a high level problem. Both horses will probably be pointed towards the same race again, and Crazy Beautiful is going to have to show some improvement, but a lot can happen, and you never know.
Yeah, well, like I said, your record here in the Darley Alcibiades, this was giving you, I believe, your 5th win in the race. And just going from the Darley Alcibiades into the Juvenile Phillies, and taking a look back, I mean, you originally won the race back in 2000. That filly ended up running 3rd in the Juvenile Phillies. Then I believe in 2008, you had Dream Express go ahead and run 2nd in the Juvenile Phillies off the Alcibiades win. In 2018, you had Restless Rider, I believe, right? Let's see here.
Correct.
Yeah, Restless Rider, and she ran second. And I mean, it's just been a really productive jumping point into the Juvenile Phillies for you. What is the general idea of how you're going to prep her going into Breeders' Cup?
It's pretty basic stuff with her. With 3 races under her belt, the fitness is already there. We don't have to do a whole lot. By the way, I've been second in the Alcibiades 8 times.
Oh my gosh.
And my Breeders' Cup record is excellent, but bad
Yeah.
at the same time. I think somebody said I had 18 seconds and thirds without a win. I can't comprehend it sometimes, but it is what it is. But look, you get a filly, you teach them to go 2 turns. There aren't that many opportunities to do it. But when you've got one that's prepared to do it, you put yourself in with a chance, and that's what we try to do.
Well, I love that you definitely do take chances. I mean, you've won huge prizes, giant races. I mean, Sarava comes to mind, obviously. And when you look back, yeah, I mean, you've had 31 starters in the Breeders' Cup. I have the record right here. Second, 6 place finishes. You've run third 10 times, fourth 2 times. You've won over, though, all that considered, over 3.3 million in Breeders' Cup earnings.
You ever see the movie Talladega Nights?
I've not seen it, but I know what you're talking about, the movie.
Yeah, my favorite quote is Ricky Bobby whenever I run bad one of those, or when I run second or third. So we'll get it one day. We always run good, so I'm proud of that, and we just got to keep trying.
So what do you think has been your key with getting these juveniles off to such a great start? What's the foundation you put in them? And also, I do need to mention the fact that you just have this eye also for finding horses at prices that other people just don't seem to do.
Over the course of my career, I trained a lot of average horses when I was young. I had a stage where I convinced some clients and listen, let me pick them, please, because if you'll let me go to the auction, then I've at least got a chance to pick a horse that I like. And it what evolved originally. Roy Monroe gave me $6,000 to buy my first yearling, and then couple years later, he gave me more, and I still use the same approach. I have to narrow an auction down so that I can find the horses that I think can compete at the highest level. And it doesn't matter to me who they're by or who they're out of, or I don't go for the fancy pedigrees. I go for the physicals. And I like buying the first stakes winner out of a young mare. I like buying the first stakes winner out of a young stallion. I don't get enamored with the page. The page is important, how horses are bred and how they're made. But what's more important is how they move. And I'm obsessed with the hip on a horse. The way the angles of the hind leg are to me, number one. A horse has to have a great hind leg. Then they have to have balance. They have to have depth of shoulder, and then they have to have, there's other things: size of their nostrils, the angles of the pasterns, how they move through themselves. I mean, I think, a real art to it, and I've got a lot of people that pay me pretty well to do that.
Well, it's definitely paying off, because with Simply Ravishing herself, you got her for $50,000 as a yearling, and she's now gone for 3 for 3 with earnings of over $300,000.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and take a look back at the Darley Alcibiades, and we can relive the race. Here we go. Okay. I produced my own show here, so it takes me a second to get to the.
I hated to miss it. It's the first Alcibiades I've missed yet.
Oh gosh! Well, you missed it for good reason, I'm sure. So.
We celebrated. We were at Timonium that day. We celebrated watching it on the Timonium, across the street from Timonium at the sale.
Oh my gosh, that's so that's you'll never forget it. You'll never forget watching it in that way and running 1-2 in the race. There she is. There we go.
First wire. They are at the post. They're off in the Darley Alcibiades. There goes Simply Ravishing up for the lead. Crazy Beautiful has early speed thoughtfully.
Did you expect her to go to the lead?
As they head for the first turn.
I didn't ask him to go to the lead. I let him do what he thought was right. But when I saw
has the early advantage.
Wait till you see the splits here of 24 and change. I think they went 24 in a couple the first, or maybe 24 and 3 the first quarter. I told everybody there, I said, this horse race is over. They will never catch her now.
She looks so easy the entire way around, too. She's
Yeah.
just enjoying herself out there.
Yeah, she's a big galloping type filly, and she's got the turn of foot.
And she's got your hip. I can see that hip.
Yeah, if you get a horse with a great hip that cuts through itself well and can bound away with speed, then you get a really good horse, or at least you have a chance. But if you get a horse with a long hip that can't move it through quickly, you get what I call a grinder or a plotter. And we buy our share of those, and then we have to put them in, whether it's mid-level claiming or whatever it might take. But with her case, she stretches out really quick there, and it was pretty much a see you later bye.
She really, again, looked like she was enjoying herself. And for a 2-year-old, especially, to have this type of professionalism, to be out there on the lead, not get lost, and finish determinedly, it was very impressive.
And I was glad to knock this one out, because I was kind of wondering I should have run her in the Spinaway in New York, and we had originally talked about it, and I didn't even nominate her because I wanted to go for I wanted to teach her the 2 turns in the PG Johnson, and then of course subsequently they came off the turf, and I had to run her short anyway. And she bounded away that day too. But yeah, Harold Lerner's a great client. I've had horses for Harold for an extended period of time now, and he's a wonderful guy, just like Peter. And I've got Scott Leeds out there, and I got so many other people that I can't even begin to name them all. And when you got nice people to work for, pulling that off is even better.
Well, you have part interest with Magdalena Racing, which is also your farm. And one of the things that I just find also fascinating about your whole training program is the fact that you do have your own training facility right here in Kentucky, and just, all the different ways that you can prepare a horse for its career, because you have some nice turf courses out there. Can you tell our viewers really what your methodology is behind just training a horse? Because I really do feel like it's a lot different. I went back and read a lot about the farm and how, and it's so obvious too. You do think it's important to train horses to both sides. I'm coming from an equestrian background myself, and what you do to one side, you have to do the other. But yet here we are in America, and you see these horses just training day in, day out, going one way.
Yeah, we go left too much. I'm going to give you the condensed long version.
Okay.
When I was a young trainer, I decided to buy property, a home everywhere I trained. So over time, I gathered enough equity, and I bought a small house near Keeneland. I bought a small house near Churchill. I bought another small house near Gulfstream. Then I flipped 2 of them and bought a bigger home. And over time, I ended up having a lot of equity in real estate. And then when I took the sabbatical in 2005, and most people don't know, my mother was terminally ill back then. And so I was dealing with some personal things. And I decided that, I actually got invited to Australia to see the Australian racing. I stayed in Australia for a month during the sabbatical I took. And when I got back, it came to me that I needed my own facility to be able to function better, because I needed the facility to be able to, whether, turn out horses or break our own yearlings. We even have mares on there now. The operation's a hybrid operation. So through a course of time, I bought it abandoned, actually. Magdalena was abandoned. And we worked through making it's a top class facility, and got 26 or 28 paddocks, round pens, walking machines. The stalls are 14 by 14.
Wow.
And we can train right-handed. I built the turf course. That was a fun project, although we admittedly don't utilize it as much as we used to. And then we've got, I bought Summerfield Training Center in South Florida, because during the winter we have to migrate everything south. Well, what I found there is that we had horses that were spread out all over Ocala. So I would have to go sometimes 3, 4, 5 different training centers to be able to see all the horses that I had in training. And then I was paying stall rent to Payson Park, which I found difficult to swallow when you're writing a big check every season for stall rent. Why not buy our own facility, break and train and prepare and base in Florida as well. So I don't know. I think I'm an exception. I'm a little bit crazy, to be honest. I've never been scared of these kind of things. My mother always said, "Stretch yourself, son. You'll be fine. You'll find a way." And winning some of these big races helps pay the bills for a lot of things that we do. And the owners relish the experience of coming to the properties, because in both cases we have a place for the clients to stay, so they can stay at the breeding shed, which is actually an old breeding shed on Magdalena, or we've got homes on the farm in Ocala. It's called Summerfield, and they can stay there as guests if they choose to. And it adds to the experience of it all. And it really is. Racing horses is an experience. It's not. I mean, okay, yeah, we call it a business, but it's also big boys' toys to some extent, and it's a pleasure sport,
Yeah.
And people don't always do it for the money. They might even do it more for the write-off.
Well, the one of the things that you mentioned right there was about at Magdalena being able to stay at the breeding sheds. One of the horses who was a stud back in the day there, Poker, right?
Well, I think 3 Kentucky Derby winners were conceived on Magdalena.
Wow.
And then the dam of Seattle Slough and the
My
dam
charmer.
and the dam of My Charmer of Silver Charm.
Yeah.
Kentucky Oaks winner, Bold and Determined, was conceived there. It's got some amazing history. For that matter, the history it's almost scary. It goes back. We have proof that a stallion stood on that property in 1810.
Oh my gosh.
So Magdalena Farm, and it wasn't called, of course, Magdalena then. It was owned by the Shealy family. And in 1810, if you do the math, that's 65 years before the first Kentucky Derby.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that horse was named Crawler, and he was imported from England. And so the property's 210 years a thoroughbred farm. And there are those farms that say, "Oh, we're historic." Well, we haven't tooted our horn too loud. Matter of fact, I'm doing it more now than we probably ever have. It's the most historic farm in Central Kentucky, and we've got written proof of it.
That's amazing. Is it already listed at all with the Historical Society? And if not, is that something you may pursue?
Nah, we've never pursued listing as a historical location, but we probably should. And I don't know, maybe I'd put that on my tasks list and see if we can get that done. And there was the first Presbyterian church or Episcopal church, I believe it was on the property as well. And it's got some amazing. It was a land grant property, and the Shealy family were one of the Shealys was in the Revolutionary War, and there's a cemetery on top of the hill. And Captain Shealy, you know what his wife's name was, don't you?
Magdalena.
Exactly. So Magdalena, and by our math, Magdalena lived on the property for 65 years.
Wow.
And was buried on the property. So it seemed that the name suited. And I'm just a tenant right now. There'll be a day when somebody else is going to take it over, and hopefully they recognize the importance. And you're probably right. We probably should do the historical site.
Yeah.
It certainly would add to the essence of it all.
I think that's absolutely cool. I'm a history buff on top of loving horse racing itself. So I definitely think you should pursue that 100%. So the fact that you've now been involved with training in such an intimate way for so many years, is there any common misconceptions you feel like the people outside of racing who are just fans still cling to regarding what goes into training a horse and preparing it for game day?
I think if they were on the inside and were able to see a lot of the things that we do, they'd understand it a lot better. I mean, there are people that just think we line them up and run them in circles, and it is a process, and there's a lot of teaching that goes to it. Whether you're teaching a young horse to leave the gate, or teaching it to raid, or trying turf or dirt sprints, routes. I guess to say the analytical side of it, I think, is missed by a lot. And studying a pedigree, or watching a horse move, It's really cool stuff. I mean, I'm shocked they pay me to do it.
Well, you love it. And a standout memory for me of you was seeing you at Prime at Saratoga the night you had won dead heating in the Travers Stakes with Golden Ticket.
Yeah,
At a
that was
huge prize.
Yeah, that race reminded me of what we pulled off this week, because David Cohen, I'll make a jockey get on a horse on a regular basis sometimes. And in Dave Cohen's case, like I did Robbie Alvarado, I said, you're going to get on this horse every day and you're going to bond with him or her. And I think it matters. And I think Dave Cohen that day or that week, we spent a lot of time, and I believe you can visualize a lot of things, like sending a player into the game. You got to visualize you're going to hit the 3-point shot. And in Dave's case, I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to keep position. You're going to stay inside. You're going to cut the corner, and you're going to finish fast, because that's the only way this horse can win the race. And with Robbie as well, I said, look, you got to visualize her taking you there, and you got to visualize her sprinting home. And, when you pull off those kind of things, it's pretty amazing. And it is a game of failure. I mean, there's plenty of races we've lost trying to do the same thing, but it's even if we'd run fourth this past weekend, we would have had fun.
Well, this is the thing. You take chances. And I was, in preparation for this interview, I went back and watched the Cocktails and Conversation you had with Brittany and Nick Luck. And one of the most moving points of the conversation was when you brought up that back in 1996, you had a near-death experience. And so for those who did not see that episode, can you tell our viewers what happened?
Well, I had a stomach ache in the winter of '94, actually. And I had run Tahana Run that season into the Breeders Cup. But the December, my stomach started hurting really bad, and I had a bad pain. And then on the other side of it, I went through the spring and into the fall, and I was constantly going through these gastric issues. We couldn't figure out what it was. They thought it was an infection. By the summer of '96, they took me to the hospital, and they had to remove section of my intestine. I was full of gangrene.
Oh my God.
And the doctor got me off the operating table and said, do you realize how close you were to dying? And I said, no clue. And it was a woman surgeon. She said, son, maybe 12 hours, maybe less. And at that point in time, I mean, I'd had Tahana Run, was a good horse, but you start looking at life as more of you probably ought to take advantage of every opportunity while you're here, because you might not always get it. And I do think in different terms since that, and not that you want to be haphazard about the decisions you make with horses, but you also can't have any fear. If I've got a horse doing well, I will run a big race. If I've got a horse that needs time off, I'm going to do the right thing there too. But I don't have much time or use for mediocrity. And we have to have good people around us. I don't like being around people that bring a negative presence. I want to be around positive people. I've done a bit of reading. I've got a pretty good library, which I could, if my lights, I've tried to keep the light down so it didn't have a bunch of glare, but I've got a huge library of personal books that I'm
you can show it.
now. I've got one whole side of the wall that's nothing but horse books. It's about 3 shelves worth. And then I've got personal books that my mother always said, son, if you've got a problem in life, somebody wrote a book about it. All right. Well, I've never been able to get the hair to grow, but I've been able to fix a lot of other things. And a lot of things in life are mental. I mean, it's not always, you can't bull your way through it. Sometimes you have to take adversity. I've got a book on the shelf here called Bag the Elephant. You know what that's about?
No, you tell me.
So it gives you the viewpoint that if you're a lion and you hunt every day and you hunt mice, you can catch 50 mice and still starve to death.
You got to hunt the elephant.
If you hunt an elephant, you eat for a very long time.
I love it.
And we bagged an elephant last weekend.
You sure did. Oh my gosh.
So those kind of things, and we do, you know, I've got a bunch of 1-minute manager books. It teaches you how to manage a stable, because we went through a stage where we had a growth issue and we had to learn how to manage people better and do a better job thanking them. And I don't know, I could go on and on.
Oh no, this is fascinating to me. And you know what you're talking about also is just managing people. I mean, to what degree did COVID affect your stable?
None whatsoever, in the sense that we had to spend a lot of time paying attention to the protocols more than anything.
Right.
But these are all my horse books right here. those
Oh
are
my goodness.
everything, like all the veterinarian books, body language of horses. This is the history of Saratoga, Jack Vanberg. I've got several Jay Hovday books. You know, Bill Heiler, really good author.
Wow.
I've got Racetracks, Champions book. This is a really great book that talks about.
Yes, I have that book too.
Yeah, that's a great book. It gives you past performance of all the great horses.
Oh my God.
My two favorite books are Speed and the Thoroughbred. Anybody that follows this game should read Speed and the Thoroughbred, which is this book right here, even if you're a novice.
Yes.
And Tessio in His Own Words, which my wife has swiped and she's reading right now.
I am a huge fan of Federico Tessio and his eccentricities and his interesting breeding theories. I love him.
Well, he was a trainer first, so
yeah,
that's the Belmont Trophy.
Oh, that's awesome. How cool is that?
Travers Trophy's over here.
Fabulous. When do you get your replica of the Woodlawn Vase?
Alabama.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
When do you get your replica of the Woodlawn Vase?
I'm not sure. I told them they could keep it. Kidding.
I mean, we got to talk about it, because when you're talking about taking chances, and I would say you took a chance from the jump. You picked up this filly at Keeneland September for $35,000, and she's just now 6 for 11 start. She's a multiple Grade 1 winner, and she is now only the 6th filly in 145 years of the Preakness' history to win that race. The filly to do it prior to her, 2009, Rachel Alexandra. And before Rachel Alexandra, we hadn't seen a filly win the Preakness since 1924 with Nellie Morse. So obviously you already thought she could take on colts. You put her in the Bluegrass Stakes and she showed so much gumption. Art Collector ended up reeling her in that day. But did you know she was super special from the start?
Yeah, we pretty much did. You know, she was throwing down bullet works early in her 2-year-old visit, or her visit to Kentucky when she first came up, and then she chipped an ankle.
Oh.
And it was like, oh, okay, we had to shelve her for a little bit. And it was a little bitty one. I mean, it was one of those what we call a P1 sagittal ridge chip. So we had Dr. Bramlett take care of that, and then we brought her back for the fall. And she had a couple of her first race was a good race. She wiggled her way through traffic, and we like to teach. I mean, my preference is I like to teach young horses to sit behind early on, negotiate through the traffic, and then finish. Now, you can knock my figures as a first-time starting trainer, because I don't really care about the first start. I'm more worried that they learn what they're supposed to do and that they do it well. And if you get a good horse, they'll win irregardless. But they have to learn how to take that dirt in their face. They have to learn how to relax in between horses, on the inside, on the outside. And she did that Saturday. You know, she doesn't have to take her game to the front. They overlooked her at Oakland thinking she couldn't rate. And she rated off that filly in the fantasy. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, she can rate. She doesn't have to have the lead. So those kind of things we do. And you have to teach them. They have to learn as they go. Well,
another thing that you don't care about is you let this filly run. And that's another reason why a lot of people didn't use her in the Preakness. I thought, well, maybe, you know, she's had enough this season already. The only month she had off was April. But you just kept a race fit. If this horse is happy, if this horse is thriving, why not run?
Well, the timing of the races fell pretty good for us this season. You know, they were coming back every 4 or 5 weeks, and that's pretty easy. Yeah,
Mhm.
I think 4 or 5 weeks is plenty of time in between races. My wife Sherry. She says, hey, run them. They're athletes. They want to run. Why would you sit on a horse 8 weeks? Well, you know, it seems to be the pattern anymore for a lot of people. It's really never been for me. Tahana Run, which was the first good horse that I ever trained, and that's a painting of him or a picture of him on the wall. I don't know if
That's
you
awesome.
can or not, but he was a beast, and that horse used to run back every 2-3 weeks without any trouble. And if you go back to the past performances, going back to that champions book on the wall, if you go back to the past performances on horses like Alidar and Affirmed, it wasn't anything for him to run back in 10 days. I mean, I can remember when Woody Stevens ran Conquistador Cielo back in 6.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happened to that? You know what's happened to that? People are too worried. Trainers are too worried about their win percentage. Owners are too worried about getting beat.
Yeah.
And it does take the fun out of it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I got lucky that Peter Callahan's game is Dick Tracy. He says, Kenny, if you think she'll run good, run her. And we hadn't been wrong yet. And she keeps eating, and she got off the plane today like she was ready to work tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, we actually have video of that. I'm going to show it here in just a second. Before I do, the thing I have to mention is, you know, for someone like you obviously are no stranger to the sales ground. And as we've already established, you've been able to pick up stars at absolute bargains. I would feel actually pretty sick because what happened before she started her career was her dam went through the auction ring, carrying a full sibling to her by Daredevil.
Yeah.
And she went through the ring for $13,000. And then the resulting colt, he went through it and in September, and it was before Swiss Skydiver started her career on track.
Mm-hmm.
And he sold for $4,000. His name is Inspector General. If anyone wants to go check him out on Equibase and put him in your stable mail. But I mean, those people, they have to feel kind of sick.
You know, it's a game. It's a game that goes like that. You never really, you can't have any questions about that. That's not something they could have predicted.
You're right.
You know, we just keep working the back ends of those sales just as hard as we do the front. Have you ever heard the math on those auctions?
Tell us.
Okay, so if you look at a historical analysis of each session, and it is a numbers game, so you have to analyze the percentage of stakes winners coming out of each session. Fasig-Tipton does an excellent job. They'll sell you 8 or 9% stakes winners. I always like to say that Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles could show up and still buy 8 or 9% stakes winners. So then the next auction is Fasig-Tipton Saratoga. It's typically a 10% stakes winning auction. Then you get to Keeneland September, and the first day of Keeneland September is a 7% session. And then as the sale goes, it trails downward to 2% on the last day, and I think this year that was on the 12th day. So you go from 7% down to 2%. So what you do is you squeeze the numbers. And so if you're buying out of Fasig Saratoga, you know, you've got to narrow it down to 10% of the horses there, and then try to buy the horses for value in the 10% that you think physically are capable of being graded stake horses. By the time you get to the last day of Keeneland September, the numbers have squeezed down to 2%. So if I've got 400 horses in a day, I know that I've got only 8 horses in the whole session that are stakes winners. So I don't need a large short list to present to clients on that day. It's usually never more than 3 or 4 or 5 horses. And then you go on to Fasig-Tipton October, and the math's typically around 3 to 4%. And so that's the process. I mean, and I play it that way, and it's like playing cards and knowing where to draw.
That's fascinating. Well, would you say that Swiss Skydiver is your greatest find, considering what she sold for?
No way.
Oh, okay.
Curlin.
Oh, Curlin. Oh my gosh, of course. 2-time Hall of Famer Curlin. I mean, horse of the year, and of course, Breeders Cup champion, two-time Jockey Club Gold Cup winner, Dubai World Cup. Curlin. Yeah, duh.
I bought Einstein for $50,000 in a sale in Brazil.
Gosh, well, what do you think? I mean, just considering like your intimate connection to Curlin, what he's become as a sire. I've seen time and time again now these horses have been selling for $1 million and up have been by Curlin it seems like just. I mean, I know he's been at stud for a while now, but it seems just over the past 2 years or so.
No, they've done an amazing job with him. You know, he's a special horse. I mean, he had the hip.
Yeah.
I can remember when he walked out in front of me, I said, "Oh my God, he's a Greek god."
Yeah.
I mean, he had a vet issue. That's why I only brought $57,000. But he was physically an amazing horse to look at, and he was a he was a monster. Repeating that one's going to be very difficult.
Yeah, I sometimes you just miss the complete obvious answer. I actually saw Curlin in person a couple of years ago, and I also have to say his temperament was phenomenal because he had been at stud, and all these horses can get kind of studdish once they start their new job, and he was a complete gentleman. And so I just to have a connection like that has got to be something. But as far as the Phillies go, she has shown that she is putting her name right up there with some of the greats. And is there something you need to do?
Yeah, one second.
No worries.
Okay.
I'll show the replay of Swiss Skydiver winning the Preakness Stakes while you tend to what you need to do. All right, let's check it out. This is Swiss Skydiver, trained by Kenny McPeek. Again, can you believe it? She just made history winning the Preakness Stakes, becoming only the 6th filly to have ever done that. And she cost only $35,000 back in 2018. So let's go ahead, take a look back at this weekend's history-making run.
And so Pneumatic is in. Live your beast life with the outside jaw. Island 316, all set. Preakness 145. And they're off. Preakness 145. Pretty solid beginning there. 1,000 words off with the early lead off. Then alongside there on the outside. And next is Swiss Skydiver. The filly will take back a little bit. And Art Collector also a bit reserved early going. And it's Pneumatic on the outside within 2 lengths of the early pace. Live Your Beast Life is next and Jesus' team in New York Traffic. And followed by Max the Player. And Mr. Big News has one beaten into the first turn. That is Succession, who is 11th and last. And about a dozen, maybe 13 lengths off the pace with 7/8 to go. That's set by 1,000 words with Authentic alongside. Baffert Runners 1-2 and Pneumatic racing in third. The opening quarter, very reasonable 24 2/5 of a second. Art Collectors placed in between horses for the run down the backstretch now. The filly Swiss Skydiver, and she is 5th in 3 lengths as Authentic has taken the lead away. Just a half length now from 1,000 words in second. On the outside is Pneumatic in third, and now Swiss Skydiver. She's slicing through between horses to come join the pace now. Here's Swiss Skydiver, a 47 and 3/2 mile, heading into the far turn, and here is Swiss Skydiver testing Authentic now. They're head-to-head for the lead. Pneumatic is in third. New York Traffic, Art Collector ridden along down to the inside. Art Collector 4th. New York Traffic is in 5th. 1,000 words drops back. Jesus has seen Mr. Big News still with plenty to do. Max Player, Live Your Beast Life, and Accession trails the field. 6 furlongs a minute, 11 and 1/5 of a second. With a quarter to go in Pimlico, and the filly shows away. Swiss Skydiver, Authentic, the Derby winner, alongside. They're set for a battle in Baltimore. And on the inside, Swiss Skydiver. On the outside, Authentic. Johnny B going left-handed. Swiss Skydiver. Swiss Skydiver a furlong left to go. Swiss Skydiver looking to make Preakness history. Another filly bounding toward the 16th pole. And here's Authentic on the outside. Answering the call, head and nose. Swiss Skydiver and Robbie Alvarado. They've done it from Authentic. Another 7 lengths back, and it was Jesus' team. Followed on the inside by Art Collector, and then Max Player for a share. Then it was 1,000 words, followed by Accession back of the pack there as a.
It's fun to watch in Spanish too.
This was amazing. Just watching her dig in and repelling the Kentucky Derby champ Authentic. She was never going to let him get by.
It's a great ride by Robbie. I mean, he when he took the initiative down the backside going into the second turn and let her go through that hole. That made all the difference. And I really, wish we'd won the Oaks. I think if we'd stayed inside, we win the Oaks. But anyway, hindsight 2020, I suppose. But
Well, we've lost your beautiful face.
I'm sorry?
We've lost your beautiful face.
I don't know what happened.
Let's see here. There we go. I think you're going to pop back up here in a minute. Maybe not. Let's see here. Add you back to the stream. No, we don't have your.
I don't know what happened.
Well, do you want to? Well, there is your icon, and so usually,
Yeah, I've got the voice, but not. We've had trouble with our satellite TV in the house. One of the routers is bad, so we got a guy coming in to fix it.
Do you see anywhere? Do you see on the bottom of the screen there where it says "Stop Camera"? Maybe if you click that, your camera will come back up.
Well, the cam that's turning the camera off. Now I'm turning it back on. I think it's on your end that did it.
Really weird. Let me see. I'll try removing you and bringing you back in, and it doesn't do it. Can you try just clicking back in that link, and we'll see if it brings you back in?
1 second.
Because I would love people to be able to see you. Okay, we're going to try to get Kenny back in here properly so you guys can enjoy both listening and looking at him, because he's just got a great demeanor, and it's so fun listening to all these stories he's had. We just watched Swiss Skydiver making history again. If you're just joining us, winning the Preakness Stakes, becoming the 6th filly to have ever done that. The filly, there he is.
There you go.
You're back. I mean, I'm just talking about the fact that she, becoming only the sixth filly to have ever done that. Putting her name in the conversation with an all-time great like Rachel Alexandra, and in doing so, she's booked her ticket, if she wants, to the Longines Breeders Cup Classic, where you could put her name in with another Hall of Famer, Zenyatta, the only female to have ever won the Classic, which she did back in 2009. What are you thinking?
Well, Peter and I, and look, Mr. Callahan's the one who's got the first and final call. Or I might make the first call, but he'll make the final one. He and I will sit down, and we're both students of the sheets, and
I actually have this from
the PPs. We're gonna pull up the PPs, and we study them and make sure that she has a chance. And if she has a chance against whether it's Colts or Phillies, we'll just have to analyze it. I mean, we don't have.
Oh, see here, we lost your audio. There you go. Now I can hear you.
First, we've got to get her back to the racetrack and make sure she's in good order and that she's traveled well. And we'll look at the sheet numbers and the PPs, and there's a couple of different ways to analyze it, but it depends on how much competition she might have, what their numbers look like, where we think we fit in the scheme of everything. It's something we'll analyze, and we'll take plenty of time to decide what we're going to do. And I'm pretty sure this time I'm not going to have to worry about whether I've got a jockey going into the race. I think Robbie's going to be on her. That was a real interesting series of events how he ended up on her, but we're glad he did.
Well, that was a question when you were talking about the sheets and looking at the numbers. Darren Sipes had asked. Kenny said on Steve Bick's show the sheets helped him determine Swiss had a chance. Correct. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And when did you start using them? When you look at, for example, she just ran a career best buyer figure in 105, winning the Preakness. How do you analyze these different measures of what these horses are running, whether it's Ragozins, the T-graph, the buyer figures? There's so many different figure makers out there now.
Well, I learned how to handicap when I was relatively young, when I was a kid around Keeneland. And I used to use the speed rating and the variant, and I still believe the speed rating and the variant is a really good way to analyze it. I'm not a big buyer figure, to be honest. I'm not real big on buyers. I think that the buyers can be weighted, especially the New York horses seem to get bigger buyers than the Midwest horses, and sometimes I'm not sure you can trust them. I think that the sheets, whether it's Thorograph, Ragozin, I think those are very analytical. And the truth is you might use a hybrid. I've actually used Bristnet and the Equibase, and I'll look at a little all of them and see where they rank her and whether she fits in the top 3, and whether it's Colts or Phillies. And she's a very good horse, and obviously those races are another next level. And I chose not to run against Phillies, older Phillies and mares, and run in the Preakness because I felt like she has the rest of her life to run against older Phillies and mares. She only had one window of time to run against straight 3-year-olds. And, that we also entertained the grass, which I think she'd like it.
Yeah, I think she would too.
I think she'd run on broken glass if they write the race, but she's really good. And let's see how the next several weeks and month unfolds.
Well, she's bred by Windstar, who was Standing Daredevil, who's now in Turkey. I have to imagine they're trying to find a way to bring him back because the filly who did finish ahead of her there in the Kentucky Oaks was another daughter of Daredevil in She Dares the Devil. And the interesting thing is he's by More Than Ready. And then her dam sire is Johannesburg, who won the 2001 Breeders Cup Juvenile, was an undefeated juvenile over in Europe before he came over here to try the dirt out. So he not only was the Eclipse champion 2-year-old here in the States, but he's Cartier 2-year-old over in England. So she certainly has a versatile pedigree, undoubtedly. But I don't know. I'm one of those people. I just want to see him always go big. And I know she got a weight allowance here. She'll get a weight allowance in the Classic. I think she could be Horse of the Year potentially. If
if she runs well in either race, she could be Horse of the Year.
Yeah, true.
Her body of work, it'll be her 10th start. She's raced coast to coast. The only month she didn't run was in April. And I think you've got to make a case for a Horse of the Year. Anyway, certainly the one of the fan favorites of the year, especially being an underdog, inexpensive filly. So look, I mean, I've worked hard for a long time to have these kind of horses, and it's really an honor. And fingers crossed it keeps rolling.
Well, I love seeing you and Sherry popping bottles at the barn after the Preakness. There was a little hiccup with getting her back from Baltimore to Kentucky, but she just arrived, about 2 hours ago?
Yeah, she was supposed to fly on Monday morning, and then they pushed it to this morning, but uneventful. And good thing she decided not to skydive, right?
No, right, yeah. We have video because one of the best things is you are so open with the fans and sharing the journey. And so you've been so good about posting and updating everybody on how she's doing. So let's go here. I'll share my screen and we'll take a look here at your Twitter feed where this is her getting back from
one round the ship.
Arriving back here in Kentucky.
I need to come on.
It's easy to do this, though. It's not difficult. It's not neat. It's like okay, first and foremost, I'll send this to the owner. But to be able to share it with 15,000 people is just as easy. And I find Twitter kind of fun. Well, I mute the people that are rude. And I block the people that I flat don't like. All right. So if you're rude, don't. And I think I've got on my Twitter feed, troll to my face.
Yes, you do, which I thought was hilarious because
Which
it's
nobody
so true.
Well, at 6'3", 275, they don't do.
Everybody's a keyboard warrior, right? Until they're
I don't like them when they troll, and you want to be rude, or you want to say something nasty. Come up, say it to my face. I'm okay with it. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, it's all right.
So what is the pressure like now for you, having this filly who's accomplished so much? Is there added pressure? Is it the same? I mean, what mentally goes on in your head?
No, there's still a lot of work to do. This morning we, we spend a lot of time dealing with so many other issues and so many other horses. I mean, between Greg Geyer and Mike Klyer and Alan and Dominic, Sean in the office and all the accounting and all the things we deal with every day, there's hardly any time to breathe and chill. There's certainly no time for a vacation. And, you just kind of keep putting one foot in front of the other. And we can't even dwell on this, and we're just going to enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to getting the trophy in my office. It'd be cool. And
You have to post a photo of that.
Uh-huh.
I said you have to post a photo of that when it comes.
I'll do it. Yeah, for sure.
You can take it to the barn and let her eat something. Here's the thing also, like you said, she is such a fan favorite, and it's cultivated this excitement. I'm just curious, has anybody reached out to you regarding endorsements of any kind? Oh, I think we lost Kenny again. There he is. I hear him.
I think we lost the video again.
Yeah, but I hear ya.
One point earlier in my career, I did back in 2002. I did a bit of endorsements for some feed supplements and stuff, but no, we don't have any of those lined up. It's okay.
What do you think about that? I'm just curious. When horses have had endorsements in the past, for example, American Pharoah had Monster Energy Drink, and there's been others I can't think of right now, but.
I can't tell you. I really don't know. I mean, I think she's definitely a star in her own right, and I'm just glad that she's drugged me along. Well,
she's super exciting, and as you said, the business needs to keep rolling. I do hope you got time to celebrate afterward, besides just at the barn. I don't know what that would, what that was like. I know in past Preaknesses, that party on the backside is huge. I don't know, because of the protocols with COVID, how much different it was, but I hope you were able to enjoy that celebration.
Let's just say we were hungover the next day, Sherry and I.
Okay, that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
So I hopefully that hangover fog has lifted, because you've got a big day going tomorrow, because you have a filly entered in the Jessamine, which is a win and you're in for the Juvenile Phillies turf. And that is Lazy Summer Day. What can you tell us about her?
She's a nice, solid filly. She's owned by Fern Circle and Airdrie stud Brett Jones and his father, Brary Jones. And she's a good filly. I think she's got a lot to prove still. I think I've won the Jessamine 4 times.
Oh my goodness.
And I'd like to win it again, but she drew outside, and I think she's a long shot, but she'll run a race. And I do think this is a filly that's going to get better next year. So I don't think there's much pressure on us at this point. She wasn't overly expensive either. I think 70. So we'll give her a run and see if she gets a piece of it.
Slightly more. She was an $80,000 yearling in September by Summerfront, multiple graded stakes winner on turf, and a son of Warfront. She's out of Bar Lazy J by Gone West. You don't really see Gone West mares that often anymore, so that's really cool.
Mm-hmm. I'll buy the bottom line a lot. I love Gone West mare. I bought a colt today at Maryland out of an Unbridled Song mare.
Wow.
Yeah, and the Johannesburg, or I could go on and on. Some of the really top broodmare sires.
Yeah, definitely. And who's turning out to be a tremendous broodmare sire is Bernardini. One of the horses who he is a broodmare sire of is Catholic Boy, who Swiss Skydiver's Dam is actually in foal to for 2021. That's pretty exciting.
Well, Bernardini's mother was a very good horse too. So
Kira Raffaella, yes.
Yeah. Gonzalo Torrealba of Three Chimneys owned that mare.
See, I love it. And, that would actually make the baby for 2021 a 3/4 sibling, because both Daredevil and Catholic Boy are by More Than Ready. So that's super cool. Your filly here, Lazy Summer Day, it's also kind of neat. Her family includes 2012 Kentucky Oaks winner Believe You Can.
Mm-hmm.
So very nice there. So your expectations are, we're going to hopefully see. I mean, that outside draw is tough. She did draw the 11 holes. She's 15-1 on the morning line. Got Hernandez aboard, who rode her last out to that victory at Ellis Park over Good Going. So she's definitely already met the mile and 16th test. Is Spanish Love Affair the horse to beat?
Yeah, probably. Honestly, hadn't studied yet. I'll look at it tomorrow. All I know is she came off the racetrack bouncing today. So
Well, that's good.
yeah, that's a good sign.
We love hearing that. And also, I mean, she was a later foal. She was born in May. So here we are now in October. That last start was back in August. And these horses, especially 2-year-olds, I mean, we say it all the time, they can mature exponentially in just a short matter of weeks.
Yeah, like I said, this filly I think is going to be better next year, but that doesn't mean that she couldn't get a piece of it tomorrow, and maybe she runs even better than I expect. But she'll run a race, and like I said, the last race was excellent, and we're quite a few weeks in between races, and yeah, she's in with a chance.
Well, again, that is the J.P. Morgan Chase Jessamine Stakes tomorrow at Keeneland. It goes off as race 7 on the card. A win and you're in to Future Stars Friday, the Juvenile Phillies turf. You can catch all that action actually on NBCSN starting at 4 Eastern. And I just got to say, I mean, it already sounds like it's been a really cool week. It would be icing on the cake to run well there tomorrow. Again, you're just going to keep monitoring, looking at the sheets, seeing who you want to go up against, whether it's in the Longines Distaff or the Longines Classic for Swiss Skydiver. I know as far as the Distaff goes, the major player there is definitely Monomoy Girl, a former winner who, I mean, she's completely skipped all of 2019. So what she's done here in 2020, coming back with a vengeance is pretty exciting. But in the Classic, you have the likes of Improbable, Tom's d'Etat, Tis the Law. Tis the Law as a 3-year-old colt would actually, as we were talking about with Swiss Skydiver getting a weight break to 123 versus 126 with the older males, he being a 3-year-old colt would get 122. How important do you think, how much of a difference do you think, that those type of pounds make?
I believe for every 3 pounds is a length. It just depends on the situation. The more speed a horse has, I think the more difficult it is to carry it. But horses that come from off the pace, I think it's a little easier. It's leaving the gate that it makes a big difference. And so speed horses have to lift and carry it. Basic science and I guess kinetic energy moving it. But yeah, I think it does matter. I mean, I'm glad I had 3 pounds Saturday because 3 pounds might have been the difference in that neck win or a neck loss.
Well, it was definitely a Preakness for the ages. It was very reminiscent in that stretch duel of Easy Goer and Sunday Silence.
Yeah, that's what they were. Some said that the race was faster than Secretariat's Preakness.
It was close. It was actually close. I mean, obviously we're later in the year right now, but still, I mean, she's a filly doing this. And, one of the things that I loved also just about the fact that you put her in there is, I mean, we see females taking on males all the time over in Europe. So I love that we have trainers like you who, you and like Wesley Ward, you guys will throw fillies in wherever you think they fit.
Wesley's the greatest.
You gotta love him. The great training philosophy, the background in riding himself. I always, I think it's interesting when a trainer has had that experience, having, race ridden. And just to wrap this up, because your time has been so valuable and I truly appreciate it. As we just said, she recently got back into Kentucky just a couple hours ago now. What were your impressions of when she got off? She looked great to me, looked like she ate up. What happens now? How did she come in and what happens now?
I've already decided to give her tomorrow another day off because she traveled today, and then she'll go back to the track the next day and probably just jog a mile, gallop a mile, and we'll ease her back into things. She'll be a couple of weeks from the Preakness before we breeze her again, and we'll have Robbie come over and give her a little easy half mile, and that's been the protocol all year, is to just give her something basic, keep it simple. It's not a complicated training program by any means. It's a maintain an even keel and maintain an even keel and get them running consistently, and she does that.
Well, we are consistently impressed with the performances she has been putting in. I got to tell you again, thank you so much for your time and for letting us share in the journey of this amazing filly, Swiss Skydiver, the 6th filly to have ever won the Preakness Stakes in 145 years of history of it being contested. Kenny, I'm sorry that you're not on the screen visually with
No,
us right now, but
I don't know why that's doing that. Peter Callahan was calling me while we were on, so I probably ought to get off.
okay. Well, thank you so much. You call Peter, and I'll wrap this up with our viewers.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
All right, everybody. This has been your Future Stars Friday forecast. We did talk 2-year-olds because, in addition to making history with Swiss Skydiver, he also had his fillies Simply Ravishing and Crazy Beautiful run 1-2 in the Grade 1 Darley Alcibiades. It's a very important race, a very important prep for Future Stars Friday, the Juvenile Phillies. Last year's winner, British Idiom, came out of the Darley Alcibiades. So definitely Simply Ravishing, a filly to watch. One I certainly am very excited about. She actually notched an 89 buyer for that effort. I believe it is the top buyer for any female. She'll be going up against the likes of Princess Noor, who is also undefeated, won the Del Mar debutante, and then followed it up with a score in the Chandelier recently. So it's going to be very exciting to watch them throw down. And then, of course, Swiss Skydiver will be very excited to see whether she opts to go Longines Distaff against Monomoy Girl or up against the boys in the Longines Classic. We definitely know she can handle them. In the meantime, we do have more Win and You're In action coming up. Again, for Future Stars Friday, tomorrow at Keeneland is the Jessamine Stakes. It's a Win and You're In for the Juvenile Turf Fillies. You can watch it on NBCSN starting at 4 p.m. Eastern. And then also, we are nearing the end of the Win and You're In Challenge series. The Jockey Club Gold Cup is coming up August 10th. That's a Win and You're In, of course, for the Longines Classic. Also on that card, the Flower Bowl, a Win and You're In for the Maker's Mark Filly and Mare Turf. The Champagne is also on the card. It's a Win and You're In for the TBG Juvenile presented by Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance. And the Frisette, also on the card, a Win and You're In for the Juvenile Phillies. And wrapping things up the very next day there at Belmont, October 11th, it is the Futurity, a Win and You're In for the Juvenile Turf Sprint. I believe the horse that we all are going to have our eyes on, he's not in the Futurity. I think he's just going to train straight into the Juvenile Turf Sprint, is Golden Pal for Wesley Ward. So we'll see how that all shakes out. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this. Sorry about the technical difficulty with Kenny's visual there, but the story, the voice, it still draws you in and you can picture what he's talking about. This has been so much fun for me. And again, I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll be back here next Tuesday with your next installment of the Future Stars Friday forecast on a 2-year-old Tuesday. In the meantime, have a great week.